dry weather has brought relief to towns in central Victoria, including Rochester and Seymour, where floodwaters are receding. But it's a different story further north, where the threat is far from over. There's been further flooding in Murchison today, where the Goulburn River hit its peak this afternoon. Downstream towards Shepparton and Mooroopna, the Goulburn's expected to keep rising tomorrow before peaking on Friday, with the SES warning of moderate flooding. Our reporter Natalie Whiting is in Shepparton and joins us now. Nat, what's the situation there like at the moment?
Well, Bridge, attention is turning to Shepparton as we see this water moving downstream, and there is the possibility of some flooding here later in the week. As you mentioned, we're expecting the river to peak here on Friday, but it is going to be well below the level that we saw back in 2022. There are some effects already on a couple of roads and bridges in areas around Shepparton, and there's the possibility of flooding at McCoy's Bridge as well. There are sandbags that are available here at the Shepparton showgrounds for people to come and collect, but so far the team hasn't been too busy. There's only been a dozen or so people who've come through to collect those this afternoon. At the moment, the SES is saying that they expect only around a dozen properties would be at risk of being affected, and that it should be relatively minimal, so some good news there. Meanwhile, at Murchison, the river peak there is holding at 10.5 metres, and that's expected to start falling tonight.
I live over in that direction, over behind the trees over there. Yeah, it's pretty hard to see from here.
For the second time in just over a year, Gary Walker has waded home through floodwaters, bracing for the worst.
Some people don't realise that it's just so devastating, and you're slack for months after it.
But this time, some welcome news.
I've got water downstairs. If they say it's peaked now, it won't do any more damage. I won't have to fix my bathroom cabinet again.
Murchison, like the rest of central Victoria, has been battered by record rainfall, leaving the Goulburn River swollen and communities on high alert. Authorities say the river has now peaked here, meaning mines can now turn to recovery. Half an hour away at Seymour, it's business as usual for a community hardened by natural disasters, where 7 businesses and 11 properties were affected this time around.
There's a level on Monday, whereas in 22 it was, I can't even reach.
At the local caravan park, the flow was fast, with waters rising a metre an hour.
You didn't know how far up it would come. We didn't want to go through what we did in 22 again.
This time, the damage has been minimal, but it's another financial blow in the form of lost bookings. Some locals are still concerned about water levels at Lake Eildon, which is now close to full capacity.
You're going, what are you doing? So it threatens everyone downstream from them.
But Goulburn Murray Water says it has the ability to take Lake Eildon above full capacity, and says it's done this before during major rain events. As of yesterday, it's been releasing 5,000 megalitres a day to stop the dam reaching capacity. The water's now on its way here to Shepparton. At this stage, the river's expected to peak here on Friday at about 10.7 metres. The SES has door-knocked around 300 houses to warn about possible flooding. The council says while some properties may be isolated, they shouldn't be inundated. Visiting the State Control Centre, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese today announced emergency and hardship payments would be available for flood-affected communities.
We'll be providing whatever support is requested to make sure that people aren't left behind.
A country behind a community. Natalie Whiting, ABC News, Shepparton.